What if I told you all of the things that we were promised are lies? We're promised that if we get an education, we'll be successful and safe in the future. We're promised that our phones will help us stay connected with the people around us. We're promised that if we have enough followers on social media, we might be able to make some money. We're promised that if we change our bodies and look a certain way, that we might get that boy or girl to like us. We're promised that if other people think highly enough about us, that we will truly matter. We're promised that if we just find out who we are and what our true self is, that we'll be happy. We're promised that we deserve, that we have the right to be happy and comfortable all the time, no matter what. We're promised so many things by the world. But I wonder, how would you respond if you found out they were all lies? 2 Peter is the last letter that the Apostle Peter, the closest friend of Jesus, writes. He writes it to churches spread throughout the Roman Empire shortly before his death. The entire second chapter is devoted to false teachers or false prophets. When we hear that word, false teacher, we tend to think of things like the prosperity gospel, something that you can easily point to and say, that's definitely not what Jesus was talking about. But I wonder, what if false teachers was anything and everything that promises to give us life, but actually leads to death? I don't want you to miss that. What if false teachers were actually all of the things that promise to give us life and fulfillment, but don't? Unfortunately, that's a really long list, and those things are everywhere. It's not something that we can just point to off in the distance and say, yeah, we shouldn't believe that thing. No, when we use that definition, false teachers suddenly get a lot more real. So Peter writes these words in verse 18 about false teachers. He says, they brag about themselves with empty and foolish boasting. With an appeal to twisted sexual desires, they lure back into sin those who have barely escaped from a lifestyle of deception. How often does that happen to you and to me? Where we say we're going to follow Jesus, where we recommit our lives to him, where we say, God, I'm going to do things your way, just to turn around the next day and be ensnared by the lies and the deceptions of the false teachers all around us. That happens to me so often. It's so easy to get pulled back into the things that the world wants to pull us back into. Peter continues, he says, they promise freedom, but they themselves are slaves of sin and corruption. For you are a slave to whatever controls you. What are you letting control you? What is the thing that you were expecting to give you life but actually leads to death? That list of things earlier, your phone, your education, your followers, your friends, your body, your identity, your sense of self. What are you putting your trust in? What is controlling you? Is your phone the first thing you look at in the morning and the last thing you look at before you go to bed? Is every decision you make made through the lens of, is this going to make me happy? What is controlling you? Because something is. And I wonder, what if the things that we're told we should let control us, the things that we're told are going to give us life, what if they're lies? Because there's only one way to experience true life, and that's through Jesus. He's the only thing that promises to give you and me life and actually delivers on that promise. I think the anxiety and depression and rampant low-grade exhaustion that all of us experience and know too well are obvious indicators that the things we're choosing to trust are not worth our time. So I want to ask you this question. What would your life look like if you chose to let Jesus be the thing that controls you? What if you turned away from all of the false teachers? What if you put aside all of the things that the world is trying to tell you and you leaned into the life that is truly life?